The top 3 responses that I get when I ask, why do you want to leave corporate America, are that you want financial freedom, you want to own your own time, and you want to build a legacy for this generation and generations to come. Now, this is not a solo job. In order to transition from your 9 to 5 into entrepreneurship, it's going to take community and it's going to take resources. And I've created the community of pioneers who are going to wrap around you and help you make that transition successfully. So if you're interested in leaving your job, go ahead and click that information below. Let's get into the community and let's transition from your 9 to 5 into entrepreneurship successfully. Now let's get back to the episode.
I've never seen somebody with power like suit somebody else. You know, like they were all about that. I was like, I want to be like her. You know, and I was like, let's see what this number is about. So I joined, and again, I raised my hand. They need a web developer, and I was like, I can do that. Still not. I can't even airdrop on my iPhone.
But you said absolutely.
Yeah, I did say that because like the website's messed up. And for weeks they announced it. Nobody was raising their hands. So I was like, I'm just on someone. I'm smart. And I don't know what I did in that job. I think I tried to update the website, and then I think I started messing it up. And I was just like, oh, I need to find somebody else to do this. And I ended up replacing myself because I was like, this is not me at all. But I learned that maybe I'm not a technology person, but I didn't know that then, and I wanted to serve. But they liked my energy, and they kept me on the board, and I had different roles. And then there was a point where like the board fell apart. I think I was secretary. The board fell apart, and we showed up the next school year, and the counselor was like, "How are we gonna do this, Chita? I think you should be the president." And I was like, "Me? What? I'm an immigrant. I don't know the system. I don't know what's going on." She's like, "Well, if someone's gonna do it, it might as well be you, and I think you can do it." And she really gave me the confidence. She was the first person who said, "I see it in you. I believe you can do it. Let's go."
Yeah.
And I had to literally go around campus like asking people to join my board. Hey, I need a vice president. Have you? They're like, what is NABA? I'm like, I don't know, but you're supposed to be the vice president of it. You know, wow. I recruited a whole team. Kayla's best friend Rico for Circle. I recruited him on my team. I knew him from like outside school when I met him on campus. He wasn't even an accounting major, and he wasn't even in a business school. But I was like, Rico, I need you.
Yeah.
And my team was excellent. We were able to like grow membership. We at the end of my tenure, we were the chapter of the year. We grew up paid membership to like from, I think there were 5 paid members when I got on to like 60, 75, something like that.
Wow.
You know, we had our corporate relationships because like they weren't giving us any money when I took it, and at the end of the year they were buying us like t-shirts and stuff because like that's how clubs are maintained, like corporations give sponsorships, and it's not a lot of money, but it's hard to get those dollars. It's hard to get those dollars, but like I ended up doing a lot of that, and you know, it was interesting because I think I undersell myself sometimes, and I think I was struggling with the same problem because like the firms were not all about Chita. I'm like, I'm doing other things. It came later, but like I was getting frustrated because I was like, I should be like Teresa. Maybe I should just like come court me, you know, give me some money for stuff. But it did come. It did come. Like I got an offer a year before the end of my master's. I was able to work, which you know was a dream. That never happens. And I remember interning. I interned at a bank here in Atlanta, the mid-sized bank. And in my interview, I got asked one question. And I talked about NABA, how I was able to grow, and like my NABA story was my interview, and that was the only question they asked, and it was 5 minutes, and they were like, okay, well thanks for coming in, and I'm sitting there like, that's it? But like I asked one question, I told them all about that, and I guess they got what they needed, and I remember going home and like saying, I think I bought tequila because I was like, that was shit, like what kind of interview lasts 5 minutes, you know? I was so distraught, I was like, oh my god, I really wanted that, I needed, you know, to put myself through grad school. And so I was like, I guess I'll send this thank you email. So I sent my thank you email, and the guy called me, he's like, oh my gosh, you sent it right away. We love you. Can you start on Monday? And I'm sitting here like, really? He's like, yeah, no, we loved your story. I'm like, you only asked one question. He's like, yeah. And so it was an interesting opportunity. So that came out of that, and actually my job while out of college also came from NABA. I went to a conference, and again, it was one of those interviews where I walked out thinking, good Lord, because they forgot about me. I wasn't on deck to interview. I had applied for the job online. They didn't pick my resume, but I went to the stand during the day, and one of my mentors, Rick Warren, was sitting there, and he's like, come at 5 o'clock. We'll see what we got. And I was like, okay. So I went, and they had like closed shop, they had broken down their stand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, somebody said I should come for an interview. What is going on? And the girl, 2 people interviewed me. One is now the CEO of like what is Northern Girls Club? A big nonprofit in Chicago. And this other girl, she was sick, her nose was running, she was red in the face. And I went in with her first, and she had a flight. She was running late because of my interview. And I was just like, oh my God.
Like, this is going to be terrible.
It was. I was like, and then I went in the next door with the CEO of Chicago. My boy's like, what's the YMCA?
Okay, YMCA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she's this black woman, so much power, so much poise. And she kind of was just looking at me, like, it was so intimidating. But again, I told my NAPA spiel, how I was a leader and all these badass things I had done. She asked me to introduce myself, and I just went into my spiel, right? And then she asked some other questions, but she was very quiet. She didn't say much, or she's not very reactionary. She's very strong poker face. And I was just like, I should have just stayed in my room because whatever. And when I got to Atlanta again, Rick called me. He's like, oh, she recommended you strongly and all this stuff, and you were one of 3 people that we're moving forward from the whole conference and all this stuff. And apparently I was the first person out of my class that was hired. The office was new, and so it's so funny how like the right opportunity will hit. And that guy was my sponsor throughout my time there. And even after I left, when I was looking to move from my previous job to my next, I called him, and he called some people in his network just to try and place me because, we're still kind of connected, and he still thinks I'm badass, again, I met him right out of college, and I only worked there for 2 years, but he's still somebody I can call and say, I need help, or I'm feeling this way, and how do I navigate the situation? But I've been, really blessed in some of the, again, just stepping out and just saying, let me try this out, trying things out,
It served you so well.
It has. I'm very fortunate in that regard.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So you have the foundation of, one, you've seen your mother serve as a mom in your family, right? Mm-hmm. So, and it might seem like a micro way of serving, but that's how you got your foundation in caring for others. Mm-hmm. And then it sounds like you got even more external when it came to the kids, the street kids living on the street, and then identifying that there's so much more that makes us the same, that makes us different. Mm-hmm. And that kind of ingrained this like serving mentality. So you come over to Atlanta, and you're in one of the more like prestigious neighborhoods, right? And you find your way in a system where you're able to tap into FBLA, mm-hmm. and then raise your hand for that, raise your hand for NAPA. Once you get into, actually educate yourself about the college system. So the high school to college system, mm-hmm. thrive at that, get to a place where you're in NAPA, and then use your authentic self to just kind of thrive.
I think also, you said something about like learning the system. Mm-hmm. NAPA helped me learn the corporate system. Because like there was no way for me, like my mom, they still have like pensions and stuff. Like the corporate environment in Zambia and here are different. Like I didn't have that in any, and none of my friends' parents really worked like corporate jobs. Mm-hmm. So there was nobody that I could get that from. Yeah. So NABA really was that avenue for me to kind of like learn what to expect. And it taught me, I remember like my first few interviews, I speak pretty low. Like I'm quiet, and like in our culture, you don't look men in the eye. Like, when you greet them, you kind of like kneel a little bit. There's this like thing, and it's hard to shake off. And I still notice myself when I'm making eye contact. Like I feel it. Mm-hmm. It's like this thing where it's not like a natural thing for me to look people in the face, And
here we are looking at each other in our eyes.
Yeah, but it's calm. But NABA was the first place where I started to like not really correct, but learn the system, like you said. Learn the way that business is done here. My handshake, you know, there's still some intimidating people that like, there's a part of me that will like glitch and like default into like this handshake of like almost like bowing down a little bit. And I have to correct for that, but it's so funny like when they're like strong Zambian black men, it comes out. You know, it's so, I catch myself doing it. I'm like, it's conditioning. But again, I have to like learn the American system, and NABA was a safe place for me to do that. And, you know, I learned how to be a leader, how to serve. I mean, intrinsically, we're all kind of leaders, right? But how to do it effectively in corporate America space. And so it gave me, I think, that serving through NABA has continued through my career. And NABA is still a place that I go back to kind of talk about. Those people were mentors, right? So people in the professional chapter. I remember when I just joined my first job, I think I was telling you a little bit about it, where I was like the first girl on the team, the black girl. I think somebody once made a comment about my hair and saying, you always have different hair. I remember then like, this became like my default work hairstyle, was like curly hair, because I was just like, I don't want the distraction, right? But that's not a choice like everybody has to make, right? But
I've gotten so many questions about this brand, and I'm super excited to share that this episode is sponsored by Black is Wealth Clothing. Now, Black is Wealth was created to inspire and empower our culture to tap into our wealth. Now, when we talk about wealth, we're not just talking about financial wealth, we're talking about the strength, resilience, and brilliance that lives inside of all of us. Now, by tapping into our wealth, we can create any form of wealth that we desire. So, if you like this shirt or any other shirt that you've seen me sport on my Instagram or any other platform, then go check them out at blackiswealth.com. I love this one, and y'all are going to love it too. Now let's get back to the episode.
The mentorship, and I remember going back to my NABA family and saying, I don't know, I don't speak football. Maybe talk about that. I don't speak football. My clients, again, we're in the South, so a lot of banks are, especially the size of bank that like is my sweet spot, which is community banks. It's like some of them is family run, like generations and generations of CEOs from the same family, and it's the good old boys club. And like here I am, very energetic Black African woman right out of college, asking them how their process works and challenging them on it. And I mean, it can be really intimidating, right? Sitting there looking them in the eye and saying, well, this is what I think, and they're looking at you like, wait, how old are you? And that's been a response a lot of times. It's just, how old are you? I feel like I'm mature now. Hopefully they're not asking me that now anymore. But like then, in my little orange dress with my little jacket, they really were looking at me like I was, you know, out of water. But like NABA gave me the confidence, because like I would go back to other women, Black women and some Black men who related and, you know, told me, well, they might, but so what, Chita? If you are good at what you do, it doesn't matter. If you speak, you know, from a place of truth and you're knowledgeable, it will come. And it has, right? Because people can say a lot about me, even currently on my teams, as like who I am as a person, but what they can say is the skill set I bring, right? Like I have built my banking knowledge, I know the operations of a bank, and so like when I speak to my clients, they can respect me because I know what they do. Even though I'm not the expert like they are, I can speak their language. I use their terms. And like I can bring up something that's happening in the industry and I bring that together, and so it's like, oh, I'm speaking to somebody who knows what they're doing. And now they start telling me all about their things and they get excited, you know, because I am naturally curious. And so like I'm curious about what they're doing, and so I'll ask them things that maybe aren't even like super related to like why they're there, and they'll tell me they want to talk about the things that are exciting in their world, just like anybody else. And when they can see that you appreciate that and you understand it, it gives you respect. So like over time that's come, and I'm really excited that I'm in a place now where it's people still try it. People still try it.
You said that, well, one, I want to touch on the cultural capital, that linguistic capital that we talked about before, being able to speak other people's language. I just want to put a pin in that. And if you guys are curious, I highly suggest you read that. But you said something that's really important, and it opens the door for you to be able to relate, and they want to talk about themselves. So of course it gives you a kind of a door into their world a little bit. Do you feel like it happens reverse? Do you feel like being able to connect with other allows maybe not all of them, but anyone to, kind of extend themselves into your world?
It's interesting because sometimes yes, but I don't know that I love it all the time. The reason I say that is sometimes it's well-meaning, but people are so, like, their perceptions of like what my world looks like are so ill-informed that it puts a bad taste in my mouth. And I'll give an example. I don't know who's gonna watch this, but one of my clients really wanted to, I guess, show that they related, and it was the time of COVID. And we were talking about farming, and I was like, oh yeah, back home, we used to have a garden, whatever. And it got a little bit racially driven, in some of like their ideas about like Africans, and we were talking about blood type and like how blood types are inferior. And I remember just sitting there like, okay, let's bring this back, right, on track. So like I think a lot of the times when some people try to come into my world, it just shuts me down a little bit, because especially in a professional setting, I don't want to, it's sensitive, right? Like I don't want to say, well, actually, like super informed people, because I don't want to embarrass them or offend or cross the line, right? Because that's still business for us, right? I'm still there to serve them. And so, a lot of the times when people try to enter my world, it's not informed or the right way. And I take the stance that I'm not there to teach them the right way to engage with me. I do that in some of my other capacities, but if I'm there to serve you, I think it will detract or hurt that relationship, right? Because now, they might put me in a different, bucket. It's just difficult, and all these different levels that it takes away from like what I'm there to accomplish. And so just being sometimes like get back on the mission and put my feelings aside. So like, I do, my brother's always like, I'm just trying to be nice. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And so yes, I understand that sometimes from a well-meaning place, but it's still sometimes hurtful. So, I try to take my ego out of it, because people, it should be two-sided, right? If I come to your world, it should come into my world, but maybe focus on a little bit more. One as a Black American, right? But especially when I hear I'm African, all kinds of stories about animals and and zoos come up, and I'm just like, okay.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's like what you're saying is, one, we do so much to educate ourselves on how to navigate in the banking space, much less in a non-Black space, much less in a non-African space. But when we finally do, and then we feel like they're reciprocal, not even reciprocal, they are receptive to us coming into their world, because we understand. You feel like it doesn't necessarily happen the same way, because there's not a lot of effort that's done on the back end so that they ask informed questions, because you ask informed questions, which opens their heart to you. And
maybe it's lack of, in the age of Google, I hate to say it's lack of resources, but a lack of interest. And also there's no motivation for them to do it, right? Like we have to do it because we're trying to take home a check or get into an industry that we don't own, or that's the driver for us. But like, what's their motivation to like get to know us apart from they don't have to, right? And maybe the right way is to just be like, I'm gonna check you, right? So that now they think twice about it, but they won't care, right? So there's no motivation. I think in the allyship conversation, that's something that needs to happen. Is if you're not taking effort to like know your team members, your teammates, and like be really interested, genuinely interested. I mean, you can tell people who are genuine and people who are just like trying to make some bullshit connection, right? Or sometimes it's not even like they're trying to show that they're interested, but it just also feels like ill-spirited sometimes. I think we become very well versed, kind of like discerning whether something is genuine, well-intentioned, or just weird. And in my career, I think I've experienced all of it, where it's like, oh, that wasn't the right thing to say, but like you meant well, and like maybe I'll engage because we have a relationship. And I think it's all relationship based. Or I didn't know about you, and then you asked this, and then I'm like, that's weird, I'm just gonna leave that alone and just like continue on like the professional side and like doing the work. And that's something that I'll stop asking you about your stuff, because like I am generally I want you to do well, right? Like, I want to know, hey, you said your mom fell, how is she doing, or whatever it is. Like, I'll still follow up, but I just also have the awareness that you won't come into my world the same way. Like, you won't show up for me, and I think that's fine. Like, somebody once said, in just like relationships and friendships, not everybody will be what you are to them, right? How I show up for you is not how you show up for me, and that's fine. We have to be okay with that, but we have to find the people who show up for us and like take care of those people as well. So it's complicated to be in corporate America and the diverse, because even that's like a diverse way of thought. Because like in my organic environments, I don't have to worry about that. But in that environment, I do, and that's a diverse thing for me, right?
Yeah,
it's
not for
different.
Exactly.
So
I hear your problem solving hat. I can hear so much of your problem solving self or personality in as you share your story, because you are sharing it so authentically, but you're sharing it also from a logical and like a place where you're results driven, right? So it's like as you tell your story, and so I'm going to finish the thought, but as you tell your story.
Thank you so much for watching the Work and Play podcast. This episode is sponsored by the Boss Up Conference, which is a community for entrepreneurs, CEOs, celebrities, and corporate executives to come together, network, and solve some problems. Thank y'all so much for being supporters of the Work and Play podcast, and thank you for watching the Work and Play podcast and all the episodes before. Now let's get back to the episode.
You rationalize it and you understand how the mission is to help the client do X, Y, and Z in their banking, right? And then you understand that you come into the room as a Black woman, but that sounds secondary to the mission, right? The mission is to get this done. So that, I think, provides sanity in this corporate space where we're trying to balance who we are and then what we do. So I'm curious to know, well, first, if anything's coming up for you, feel free at any time. But I'm curious to know how your identity has formed as a Black woman, or I guess as an African woman, and then as an African American woman.
The corporate space? Or just period?
You know?
I mean, I think, you just talk about problem solving. I think that comes from like being a Bemba Black woman. You know what I mean? Like that comes from like that I have 2 eggs and 2 tomatoes and some vegetables. I have 8 people to feed. How are we gonna make this work? Figuring that out. My mom said in Bemba, but I'll translate it as a place of lacking breeds ingenuity. When you don't have something, you get creative as heck. And so like I think I'm used to that, right? Because a lot of the times we're working under some kind of constraint. Luckily, I'm comfortable now. Like, but like just thinking of like coming out of college, like I can't believe like some of the things I was able to do as a college student. The fact that I traveled abroad, I had no money. Like now when I travel abroad, the amount of money I spend, and it's not like the experience is that much different. But like now the things I need to have, all these things, right? But like I made it work. When I talk about how credit card points, okay, I got creative, I figured it out, I wanted to go, I didn't have a lot, I went, and my rent was still paid. I
just want to, one time for the one time.
And so like I think that comes from like watching my aunties, they figured it out. My mom, like there were times like when the water was shut down, right, growing up in Zambia, and I remember I had a little boyfriend then, and he always talks about how we used to have these conversations when I was like, literally, I was stealing water is what I was doing. There was like a place in the pump where you could like hook up a hose pipe and would hook it up and like get water for the day, and I don't know, he would come by and like we'll chat. It was so endearing to him, and I'm like, do you know what was actually happening?
You gotta get my water from the side.
Right, like
use your ingenuity.
Like he thought it was like this. He remembers it so differently, right? Like this romantic thing for him. But we made it work, right? We made it work, and we, it's just how it is. But yeah, I think so. Being a Black woman always gave me that. But you're right. I think there was a part when I moved here when it wasn't important to be like a Zambian person or a Zambian woman. There was a point, I was a teenager, right? And I wanted to fit in. So like the dress or the things that I did or how I engaged were just a way of like, okay, I need to like integrate into society. This is what my friends are doing, right? But now I think I'm a little bit more comfortable, and I think that just comes with age and just like not, you know, it's like whatever, it is what it is. People are still going to love me, and if they don't, maybe they'll love the people I want to be with, right? So now I think I'm just like more comfortable saying, you know, I'm Zambian, I'm active in my community, people know that about me, and then things that I find uncomfortable, I just don't engage, right? I don't need to prove who I am to anybody else, and I think I have pretty dope people around me. Like I think I attract pretty good people, dope energy. I always brag on my friends; they're all doing some amazing things, so it's okay. And they all think I'm special enough because I am truly an introvert, and I say, oh, my extrovert friends pick me. They only want you, so I'm like, why do I have to show up for people who I don't even know when the people who know me are like, we want you in our lives? So I think that comes, and then in the work world, I think, you know, similarly, right? I think for the most part, like when I show up as my happy go lucky self, the right people like see it, and that's okay. That some people maybe I wish would get it that don't, and that's fine. Like, how do I make sure that people who are seeing it are advocates for me and are sponsors and are giving me what I need? And it's especially in my current role, there've been like some situations that have been challenging where people are just like motivated. It seems like they're motivated to see you lose. They want you to lose, and it's like they give it energy. And like I don't know what that's about. Like that's not a feeling I've ever had towards somebody. Because I don't know. That's just again so many issues. So many. It's like, is your life that perfect that you are really motivated by seeing me like not be successful?
Yeah.
Like I have real problems, and not just my own, right? Other people's problems that I think about that could be solved by like $50, right?
Yeah.
And so like that, like I, you know, my family, the things that we're going through as a family, and my country, the things we're going through, the things that I see that are a shortfall in that, like I just couldn't give energy into like trapping somebody up or whatever. And I see that, and it's hard not to give it energy. It's not hard not to be consumed by it. But what I've learned in the last year of COVID, because we had to sit out with ourselves a lot, is it's okay. And it's taken me a while to be okay with like people who are not supporters or big fans of Chita. It was my first time in my life. It's like, you don't like me?
Exactly.
Are you kidding? What is going on with you? Exactly. No, seriously. What is wrong with you? But, you know, they're going to exist. I wish I learned that in high school, because I think people had some people like that in high school. I didn't, right? Like, I just minded my business. There was too much to learn. There was too much growth that needed to happen. There was too many changes happening in me and around me. Yeah. So, like, I didn't have time to, like, give attention to people, like, maybe it happened. My friends always tell me, like, Chita, you just don't be catching stuff. I'm like, girl, whatever. You know, when somebody was, like, shady, I don't even, like, it doesn't register. I just, like, move forward. Yeah. Like, that's on you and your heart, and that's your energy that you have to deal with. Yeah. And so, like, maybe it's happened. It never registered. It didn't. So, like, this is the first time I'm experiencing it and, like, being aware of it and, like, trying to navigate. And, whew, Lord, you know.
Yeah, it can be a lot.
It can be a lot, but, you know, I've found peace with it. Like, last year I was struggling with it. I really couldn't understand, but I'm still pretty dope.
Girl, say it louder. I am still pretty dope. Say that, girl. I would say you have accomplished so much, and like the way that the world organically has shaped for you to succeed is amazing, bar none. You have achieved so much, and I know why that Nava story is so impressive. So I hope you know at this point, like it tells me even now, and that was almost what 6 or 7, 8 years ago. Yeah, and so I'm curious, I know you want to accomplish so much more, right? I'm sure you have a lot down the pipeline. So where do you go for support in terms of your career and navigating that African American, African woman, and corporate professional brand? in getting to where you want to go?
I don't have a great answer for that. Unfortunately, I think I don't have like one place, right? I think it depends, and means my dramatics. But like when I'm faced with like a big career thing, it's like.
Hey y'all, let me tell you about my friends at Run the World Clothing. Run the World is a community empowerment brand that chooses to educate on Black history, Black culture, and Black radical thought through apparel and experiences. Run the World is a vessel to celebrate the Black experience for our Black people and our allies. And I have on one of their latest pieces from this season's collection. So if you haven't seen Run the World Vic's episode on the Work and Play podcast, go check it out or go to their website to check out some of their apparel. Now let's get back to the episode.
Oh my God, everything is wrong. But I think I talk to everyone, right? But I try to get different perspectives. I have, fortunately, a Zambian Black woman who's a mentor. She works at and then Blue Cross Blue Shield. She's done it for a very long time, and she's close to C-suite, right? She's pretty high up and. She's somebody I'm doing something with, like at the community level and stuff. So like when I go to her and we can have like a big sister kind of conversation and just like tell her, and she knows like all of the things. So there's that perspective. And then I talk to you about like Rick, the first partner who hired me. He's like a voice that I trust. Like when I got my first promotion out of college into a senior, he was like, in 10 years you can be partner. I'm not gonna be partner in 10 years, but like he said that with so much confidence. And he was so sure. He believed, and I don't know if I believe, but it's so refreshing to have somebody who's just like, you can do it. Like, I see the magic, I see the fire in you, and I want you to support that. I will put my political capital to supporting that, your dream. So like sometimes I'll call him. I don't do a good job of like keeping in touch, but like when I do call, he's always like, oh my God, yes, let's do lunch. And you buy me lunch, and we'll have steak and potatoes, and we chat it up. And sometimes it's hard. I try because it's hard to also read people's intentions. That's one thing like I'm trying to get better at. Again, I'm very like direct and very kind of like, if you don't say what it is that you don't like, I'm not gonna know, right? Yeah. So like I don't want people who are like
try to go around about way to get you to.
And it's like, what are you saying? Why can't you just say it? So like, why do I have to like fix the problem and decipher what the heck you're saying? How do I know I'm fixing the right problem? But anyways, so within the firm, like whatever company I've been at, if it's like a big career thing, there's the one they work for the firm, right? And then they are also ambitious. So like there's sometimes where like you have to take that advice with a grain of salt, right? If you're in the same firm, because like they want you to stay, or they want you to stay instead of this position because it maybe feeds their agenda. And there's some people who aren't like that, like who's so straight up, but it's hard. So like I think I try to get some advice from like leaders. So again, I don't have like a person, and then like I sit with all of it. I think back to my analytics, like I gather, I sit with it.
Roll it over.
And then like the questions of like where am I trying to go and what's comfortable, what feels happy, what am I excited about?
Yeah.
Did I have fun today? So my nephew used to ask me when he was 3, and I still keep it. He was so smart. I would call him. He's like, "Did you have fun today?" I'm like, I don't know, but now I try to have fun because
I love that.
that childlike thing, right? What is fun? Like, where can I have some fun? Because the work is gonna get done, and it could be miserable, it could be a little bit of fun. And so I sit with it, and then like I decide. Again, I also talk to friends, family. I have some friends in the profession. Whoever I'm dating at the time. Like I think there's not one person. I think I just try to, because sometimes people outside of you do see things in you, but only you know what's in your heart and like what makes you happy. So like it's good to get people to every now and then I'll do like a survey of like, what do you think of my poem? So like to just get feedback on me as a person, and then say I don't think of myself that way. I wonder what that's about, and exploring that. So I love to get feedback, but again, it's that inputs, and then I decide.
That's great. Yeah. I think you doing a survey is one of the things that I even work with my clients. Where I'm like, it's funny that you do that, right? But sometimes we are in our bubble and we We don't even think about getting that feedback.
Right.
It's called so even when I was, executives get their 360 feedback, and sometimes it's when they're on their way out the door, and then sometimes when they're on their way up. But I think we can all benefit from a 360, so I just think that's really awesome.
Yeah. You gotta have a board of directors, and who's on your board?
Again, who's on your board?
Yeah.
So as we think about next steps, I'd love for you to take a moment if needed. But think about 3 to 5 years out and give us something that we can look at Chita and be like, look, I saw her when she was and she said she wanted to accomplish a couple of things, and my mentor does this, so it's like literally coming up for me so naturally.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that knowing that the only thing that keeps you from doing whatever it is like raising your hand? What are some of the things that you could possibly see yourself raising your hand for in 3 to 5 years?
That's a good question. It's a hard question because, like you said, things just like happen. It's funny, like somebody said, when you're on the path, the way appears. So I think I'm on the path to be a lot more involved in helping, at least where I'm seated, have more of a voice in what we do for our minority Black and Brown communities. I don't know what it will look like 45 years from now, but I think that's something that will stay. And then I also see myself pursuing more opportunities in Zambia. I told you a little bit about the project I'm working on, but I'm really just interested in building a network there. And in the future, when I have a family, I think that would be a second home base for me. So maybe starting to be more intentional about planting seeds there and building some kind of a life there. So in 45 years, I should have hopefully a little bit more progress with that.
I love it. So I'm going to be like, did you raise your hand for that opportunity? And the thing I love about opportunities is when we know what the opportunity looks like that we're looking for, it'll present itself. And it might seem weird, but it's not weird because we've already spoken it into existence.
Right. Yes, all right.
So as we head out, I think there is a woman somewhere, and I do this on every episode. So there's a woman who is somewhere along the journey that you've already trailed, and she needs either a bit of guidance or a bit of a word to help her see beyond the situation that she's in right now. So maybe she's not raising her hand, or maybe she, hasn't been quite acclimated into her new culture. What would be that one thing and that person that you'd like to reach back to and speak to right now?
I would say that, if you're in the room, you're supposed to be there.
Hey guys, it's Ariel from the Work and Play podcast. If you're getting any value from this channel, and I mean anything from the tutorials to the podcast to the random videos that you see on this channel, then I just ask that you do one thing. Please subscribe. Subscribe and share this to anyone that you think this resonates with, and drop a comment below so I know what other things that you want to see next. Now let's get back to the episode.
So speak up, speak firmly. The thing that you're thinking is obvious, that hasn't been said, probably isn't as obvious as you think, and that's your unique contribution. So walk into those rooms and speak confidently in the things that you're thinking, the things you're feeling, even though it's so different from what's being spoken. I think that's our competitive advantage, right? Because our backgrounds are so different, our perspective is so different. So of course it's not being said. So be confident in the thoughts that you're having, the ideas that you have. For sure. I think I am still learning to find that voice as well, but yes, it's valid. Let's speak louder the things that we believe or think.
That is awesome. You have been such a blessing. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Chita.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys for listening and for watching. And if you'd like to get in contact with Chita, how can they reach you?
I'm on LinkedIn, so that's a good avenue. I'm also on Instagram. My Instagram is very personal, but I think on LinkedIn, I engage with whoever sends me a message, and I also like to follow a lot of people's career and things that they're doing through LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. Please reach out if something did touch your soul or touches your career journey and you'd like to connect. Go ahead and connect with Miss Chita. Again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. And I will see you guys on the flip side.
Bye.
Bye.